Welcome to Week and Geek, your new comics preview for May 1st. I'm Mike Ortiz.
I'm the Chris Brown.
So what do you got?
Well, I'm looking here. We've also got Free Comic Book Day coming up this week. So Saturday, there's going to be all kinds of some fun stuff. I don't know that we're going to be able to do a Free Comic Book Day episode. We did that last year. There's a lot of titles this year.
Right.
A lot of stuff to go through. I'll just tell you straight up, my top pick of the Free Comic Book Day that you should totally be looking for is the Walking Dead special. And, it's not just because I'm in it. It's primarily because I'm in it. They'll be reprinting that Michonne origin story and that Walking Dead again. So looking forward to that. There's a Turtles book, lots of good stuff.
Oh, yeah. If you're on the internet right now, go look at the list.
Go look at the list, check it out. It's going to be some good stuff. And we'll be here all day from 11 to 6 on the 4th. First person who makes a Star Wars reference probably is going to get force choked. I'm just letting you know. So we've got my top pick here, my leadoff pick here is Green Arrow number 20. I like this book. It's really fun. I mean, clearly they're trying to bite on a similar vibe to what's going on with Hawkeye. Hey, it's working over there. Let's give it a shot. I like the art. I think the art's incredible, and I like the story. You've got Jeff Lemire's kind of going back and doing stuff with the island and what happened there, and that seems to be the most important part of Green Arrow's origin these days.
Yeah.
That's what everybody's latching on to. I believe they've done that in a TV show now. Right. And so they're trying to give people something that sticks and works for them and resonates with them. And, people are watching TV.
Yeah.
That's what's going on. Good book, though. He's fighting Komodo. It's really, really just a neat battle. And I like how he's a little fallible. He's not perfect. He's getting his butt kicked right now. And that's exactly like pro wrestling. If the world champ's, winning all the time, well, nobody cares about the world champ. You got to believe he might lose. That's the only way it's exciting, and that's what's going on with Green Arrow right now.
Nice.
Next up, I've got Detective Comics number 20. This is continuing John Layman's story with Emperor Penguin. I think this book has been pretty cool. It looks like he's finally able to just tell his story and get out from underneath the next Batman event. Because that's all they've been really letting him do is Batman event, and he's trying to wedge his story in there as well. But I think it's been pretty cool. This Emperor Penguin is kind of taken over, sort of wedged out the Penguin, Cobblepot, when all this stuff was going on with Death of the Family. So he's got to leave. The Joker takes him, and then this guy comes in and basically takes everything from Cobblepot. And now Batman's got to fight a new Penguin. It's kind of cool. He looks kind of weird, kind of strange. Next, I'm looking at Shadow Man number 0. This is a book that I've said before was my favorite of the Valiants back in the 90s. Kind of waiting for it to click with me. I imagine the 0 issue is going to go back and tell a tale of Jack Boniface's dad, who was, the Shadow Man right before him. I don't know that that's necessarily the case. Looks like, I don't know what's going on here. But it's supposed to be essentially an origin story of some kind for Shadow Man. It's a 0 issue. They were the first ones really to do that sort of thing back in the 90s. I think it's funny now everyone does the 0 issues and whatever else. Well, Valiant did that first.
That's true.
Now we've got another retailer, a fellow retailer was telling me a few weeks ago that they felt that Valiant, was just worthless, and what did they do? They only gave us a couple of stupid things in the 90s, and I said, whoa, Chico. Valiant gave you everything that works for the big retailers now. Everything that Valiant was doing has been repurposed by the publishers now, and that's what they're doing. Valiant's business model was a strong one. It just got away from them a little bit.
Did you see that chromium cover on Age of Ultron?
Yeah, where do you think that came from? All those chromium wraparounds, that's what they were doing with their 0 issues. That's how that worked, Next up, I'm looking at Harbinger Wars number 2. That first issue was pretty good, and it looks like we're on a collision course with Pete Stanchek and his gang, and something's going to happen with Bloodshot. Pete is having these visions, things are going on. There's, Harada's got his group. They'd also explained to us a little bit basically what happened with Project Rising Spirit and how they tied in with Harada and why this is all going on, why it's a little crazy. But I'm waiting for our group to, run headlong into Bloodshot and see what happens from there. Because it looks like there's a lot of people with their own interests in this book right now. Then I'm looking at Mars Attacks. This is issue number 10. This is another John Layman book. I've been singing the praises of John Layman for quite some time now, and I find myself reading a bunch of his stuff. This Mars Attacks has been really, really fun. I like this book. I am a couple issues behind on this current story arc, but it happens. I'm a couple issues behind on lots of stuff. But it's a fun book. The artwork is really, really fun, and it's a neat idea of they're literally adapting trading cards, and they're making it work somehow. I like it. Next, I've got Invincible Universe number 2. This was the first issue was pretty good. As I'd said before, I think that basically they had to change Guarding the Globe to Invincible Universe. You got Invincible on the cover, you can sell the book. You don't have Invincible on the cover, that's going to be a harder sell, which they found out. In the first issue, they have this villain who kind of comes to them and says, "I need help. I understand. I've raised a lot of heck, and this dragon's got out of me and has raised some trouble." But my whole purpose is to keep him contained, and I can't do that anymore. And the guy kind of ends up sort of dying, and the dragon gets loose, and they're trying to fight the dragon while also trying to save this villain. And it's some nice human moments in this issue. The first issue kind of introduces you to Cecil's new assistant, and some things happen there, and then you learn a few interesting things about Cecil. This is kind of his book, and I like what they're doing there. I think that's kind of cool. Next up, we've got a book here that I'm not entirely sold on. I read this last night, and I don't know how I feel about it yet. This is 10 Grand, issue 1. This is by J. Michael Straczynski with art by Ben Templesmith. This is some of the best stuff I've seen Ben Templesmith ever draw. He's got a really dark look. Somehow he finally was making it. Never really worked for comic books for me before. I liked it. It looked cool, but it wasn't comic books. This feels like a comic book. He's using that style, and it's pacing well.
There's
and
a lot more line, like traditional hard line in this. Whereas before it was this weird, some blend between paint and line. I mean, there's painted color,
right?
But like it looks like you could look at this original artwork and it would work pretty well.
Yes, yeah. It's living past all of the post-production work on it. Really good stuff. I don't know that I love the story. It's kind of something happened to a detective. There's demons involved. He's not just walking randomly. I know that is a J. Michael Straczynski thing. He hasn't started walking yet. He does walk. He does have both legs. He's trying to help a girl find her sister. The title 10 Grand is the allusion to that's how much it costs for his ear, essentially.
Okay.
You sit down, for him to even listen to you, you got to slide him an envelope full of cash, and it's 10 grand. That keeps the chuckleheads away. If you can afford 10 grand, then yeah, you're probably serious about this. Right. And that's where it goes. This girl's looking for her sister. She's perhaps been taken by a cult. There's demons involved. There's a demon that probably killed his wife involved. It's weird. It doesn't feel that original to me, but I'm going to try it. I've mostly liked Straczynski's creator-owned stuff. And I liked his Thor run a little bit. I didn't like his Amazing Spider-Man run. But his creator-owned stuff, I loved Rising Stars until he didn't know what he wanted to do with it. And then it stopped for 2 years, and then he finished it, and it was not very good. Right. But Midnight Nation, I don't understand how that never became a movie or something. I really don't know. I mean, that was a good thing, even if it was more walking. But not more. That was maybe the seeds of walking.
Yeah, that was the first walking.
Then I'm looking at Blackacre number 6. It's a weird book. I don't know what chord this is striking with me, but I like it. I enjoy reading it. It's kind of it's gotten past just its premise of the people living in the tower, and now we're kind of in the wasteland. And the character Green, that our other main character from the first story arc was supposed to assassinate, unbeknownst to himself. Now you're kind of finding out his origin and why he is now some kind of prophet for the people living out in the wastelands. And it was kind of a neat little story. This issue, this is the issue 6, so this is the start of the next story arc. If you hadn't read the first story arc, you could jump right into this, and you'd be a little confused. You could read the little beginning there, and now you're just following this character. And you could jump right in and be good to go. And I think it is, like I said, I don't know what chords it's striking with me, but I do like it.
Cool.
What are you looking at?
I'm going to start off with Earth 2, number 12. This is The War with Wotan. We finally got the full introduction of Dr. Fate last time out, and now we've got the rest of the... I'm going to call them the Justice Society, even though they don't have that name yet. But Flash and Hawkgirl and Green Lantern are all kind of getting together. So yeah, I mean, this is just continuing to build this world, which I think they've done a really good job with so far. It's a different, familiar names, somewhat familiar concepts, but they've really turned it on its ear. But slowly, it's kind of getting that recognizable form. I think a lot of people wanted that form right from the start. But,
sure.
That's not how these characters kind of all came together in the first place. So rather than throw them all together and have a Justice Society right off the bat, they're introducing them individually and then over time bringing them together. So, yeah, I really like where they're going with that. And it's been pretty solid artwork all across the board. Next up, Action Comics number 20. It says Andy Diggle on the cover. I thought he only did one issue. Maybe he
That's
did
what
two. Or
I'm not
maybe
sure.
the cover is wrong because they pasted that up before he quit.
Maybe.
And I can't find the credit box. So it's drawn by Tony Daniel. It may be written by Andy Diggle. It may be written by Tony
Cover tells
Daniel.
us it is.
But we've got flashbacks to Krypton, apparently. I know some of the storyline that Superman or that Andy Diggle was doing was going to eventually have Superman back on Krypton in the past in some way. I think this all ties into that Hell on Earth storyline is what I'm getting. So yeah, I mean, I was kind of ambivalent about this. Now that it's like we don't even know where this story's going to go because the writer's gone. Who knows? But we'll still give it a shot. It's Superman. I've kind of got a Superman thing going right now just because the movie's coming out. Next up, Snapshot number 404. This is concluding yet another Andy Diggle book.
This one is written by
Andy
Diggle.
He did write, illustrated by Jock. I didn't actually read the last issue of this yet, so I don't really quite know where it leads to, but this is the story of a guy that finds a cell phone that's got pictures of a murder that turn out not to be a murder, and then eventually it is a murder. And it's a good kind of twist and turn caper kind of story.
Cool.
Next up, we've got Age of Ultron book 7. This has been a pretty solid book, and
I like it.
It's interesting. Marvel's found a new formula of start off with something that seems like it's just going to be a traditional sort of slugfest, and then get into the weird morality play.
Yes.
So if you've been following along, well, spoiler alert: Wolverine, to prevent Age of Ultron from happening, goes back in time and kills Hank Pym before he can create Ultron. And that will supposedly make everything
I don't know that it
and
will.
wonderful. And then this is the issue where we find out that no, probably doesn't make anything better at all.
Well, and they're saying now because of this time jumping that Wolverine is doing, there's a story coming up where it looks like they're going to kill Wolverine. They said there's a newsworthy story coming up, and of course they're talking about it already, so we can order lots of them, and people can buy lots of them hoping they're going to be worth lots of money when in fact there's lots of them.
Yeah. Although, I wasn't one of the covers coming up, Wolverine versus Wolverine?
Oh, yes, I believe, because they're going to be doing a story where the future X-Men are coming back and telling the past X-Men they got to go home, and all this weird stuff's going on. And there's some kind of a young Wolverine, but there's also cover images that are popping up where his hands are bandaged, but he's bleeding in the spot where the claws should be. So they're saying that this is going to mess with his healing factor, and something is going to happen.
Yeah. So and they've been teasing that a lot of this time travel stuff here and in All New X-Men, that's going to have some ramifications on the Marvel Universe that will feed into Infinity.
That's what I'm hearing.
So yeah, it's a whole big thing going on, but I always like seeing these kind of alternate takes. Obviously, by the time all is said and done, we're going to get back to a Marvel Universe that we know of.
You got to put all the toys back in the toy box.
But for now, they're taking them apart and messing them around. And we got Captain America with an eye patch and Cyclops with a half-shaved head. Who knows? It looks like the Wasp is Captain Marvel. I don't know. Crazy stuff. Whenever you get into alternate timelines and time travel and all that, it gets a little nutty. Speaking of that, we've got All New X-Men, which is Brian Michael Bendis. Now, unfortunately, that
we already know.
We know, but hey, I can live with that. We know one of the original X-Men basically decides to join Cyclops' team, and this
good choice though. I think that was, while it surprised me, it was a good choice.
It was a surprise, but it was also like, that really makes sense.
Yeah, because it was also built up. I felt like they built it up with his trepidation and not understanding what was going on, and it worked.
So this is just continuing that storyline. We've got
I love Storm with the mohawk.
Yeah.
God, I love that mohawk is back. Halle Berry better be wearing that mohawk in this next X-Men movie if she's in it.
I don't think she is. I saw a picture. She's wearing a short kind of buzz cut sort of thing, so it was a little punkish, but not the mohawk. Great artwork on this book. It's been a great storyline so far. How this is all going to resolve, who knows? But for now, I'm enjoying the ride. Next up, Superior Spider-Man with an awesome cover with Spider-Man's brains. I have not read this. And
this is it. This is the one where they're supposed to figure it out.
Actually, even decided not to flip through it. Apparently, at the C2E2 convention this weekend, Marvel had some copies there. And in the Spider-Man panel, they invited some people up to read it, standing there. and there were a lot of wows.
Okay.
So hopefully this is going to give us some more twists and turns, something we don't see coming. Whether or not it's going to resolve things or if they're going to keep dragging this out, who knows?
They need to resolve things. For
But yeah, actually, in the previous issue, didn't Octopus has found that there's an anomaly.
Yes.
And now he's going to basically try to get rid of Peter.
Yes.
So this is the fight to see who wins. Supposedly, is one of them going to win? Is it going to give us something completely different? Are we going to find out it's a Skrull? Who knows? But at this point, I wouldn't put anything past Dan Slott.
I think Peter should punch a wall. Just make it all go away.
It looks like we've got Ryan Stegman back.
So Stegman's back.
So yeah, hopefully this issue of Superior Spider-Man will give us some resolution. If not, I don't know how long I want to keep it.
Me neither.
Next up, Hawkeye. This is a great book. Matt Fraction is writing in a way that he wrote way back when he was doing Iron Fist. This issue, we've got Francesco Francavilla.
Nice.
Fantastic artist. He's done some great pulpy stuff, great colors. This book is rotating a fantastic team of artists. They're typically short, one-and-done stories, even though there's some crossover overall. But, really, we've said this pretty much every time. This is issue 10. This is one of the best books on the stands right now.
Agreed.
Next up, Thanos Rising. I really like the first issue a lot. We get a very sympathetic young Thanos. Who is
I didn't like young Thanos.
Starting to really.
I didn't like it.
See, I thought that was kind of cool. I had never really seen Thanos as a child before,
and I didn't need to.
Basically, being a child. Well, I can see that.
I didn't need Logan as a little kid. I don't need Thanos as a little kid. Part of this is the suspension of disbelief, and when you start to add the whole little kid element, no longer works for me. That's why I hated Rob Zombie's Halloween. We don't need to know that much about him as a child. Just move on. You're complicating things by adding a child element. For me.
Right. I liked it. I thought it was kind of cool. Seeing how Thanos became the creature that we all know and love or hate or whatever is
or
kind
love
of
to
interesting.
hate or hate to love or whatever.
So yeah, been good stuff with some great artwork by.
There was some great. His artwork does look a lot better, and I'm curious to see where it's going. Like I said, I didn't need the kids stuff, but I want to see.
Right.
As he starts to become more of the Thanos we know. That's where I'm curious.
There's a mysterious female character in here, so we don't really see what that is. But yeah, overall, I liked it. But I liked it because I like Thanos. Let's just face it. I eat that stuff up. So that's my stack.
Right on. Well, I guess that brings me to the top of my stack. I'm looking at a book here. Unfortunately, this probably isn't going to be that easy for you. You are going to have to probably go to Dan Doherty's website. I believe there is some information in here. You could probably go to www.beardocomics.com and probably order a copy if you're not buying it from Comics and More. This is Touching Evil by Dan Doherty and Wesley Wong. This is, from what Dan has told me, this is the first time he's pretty much been able to do all the writing himself in quite some time. He'd been, Raph had been doing most of the writing, pretty much all the writing for Bob Howard, Plumber the Unknown, which just announced that Z2E2 is going to be published by First Comics, which is really cool. But this is, Dan pretty much did this project on his own. It had been in his head for a long time. He does the story, the pencils, and the letters, and he shares the inks with himself and Wesley Wong, with colors by Wesley Wong and assists by Sheila Johnson. This is a cool book. There's a couple different stories going on at the same time that eventually merge, and one of them is there are these people in prison, and they're right away told by the warden that, once you're no longer a fresh fish, you got 3 strikes. After 3 strikes, you get to go to the ghost block. What the ghost block is, well, you'll hear lots of rumors about the fact that, it's this weird room, it's supernatural, you walk in and your heart stops beating and you die. That is not a rumor. That is what happens. And as you guys as fresh fish, one of you only gets one mistake and gets thrown in just to prove it to the rest of everybody. Well, then in the meantime, you got this story going on with these lawyers, this, a defense attorney, and this woman, Ada, has, saved this one guy from prosecution. Something is happening there until the 2 stories meet, where Ada essentially has to go to this prison, and then you find out something strange happens. The reference to touching evil is a curse in which the bearer of this curse touches someone who is evil, and they die by a single touch. Not the case if you're not evil. And it has a very strange ending that I didn't see coming. The story is very, very well paced. I think Dan did a great job here, and that is why this is my top pick. This is not my top pick just to kind of push and promote Dan. I really liked this book.
Cool.
And if I didn't, I probably wouldn't have said anything at all. But I really like this book, and I think it's a strong book, and this is something that you should look for. I told Dan last night in an email, I said, has Jim Valentino seen this book? Because if this was being published by Image right now, you'd have a TV deal within 8 issues. Read it. You'll see. It feels like it would be great for TV.
Cool.
So great stuff. Pick that one up from Comics and More. 28059 John R. Road, Madison Heights, Michigan. Did we show them the fanciness?
Yeah, show them the back.
We got a full page ad on the back too as well. So that's not the only reason I'm promoting it,
right.
But I do have that full page ad.
Dan's great.
Yeah, agreed.
And yeah, if he'll probably be at the next Motor City convention.
I don't think he's coming to Motor City, but he will. As far as I know, he'll be at Fanfare.
And what's interesting is I just that book 5 Ghosts that we've been pushing. That apparently started off as a self-published book.
Really?
The first issue was self-published and sold at the New York Comic. I just listened to an interview with the guy.
Okay.
And then it made it into the hands of someone at Image, and they're like,
"Why aren't we publishing this?
Yes, let's put this out." So
I hope that happens for
somebody.
Dan.
Someone get a copy of that over to Eric Stevenson.
Because I really do. I feel like this is a strong book. This is the best I've ever seen Dan's art.
Logo looks a little bit like an Image logo.
Well, I think he did that on purpose.
Cool. My top pick is somewhat strange. It's Iron Man 258.1. Now, Marvel used that .1 to delineate like this jumping on point or a preview of what's coming up. And, we can argue whether or not that was particularly successful. Some people really liked it, some people didn't. I've read all the .1s of stuff that I would normally get. I really didn't try to go outside of that. And sometimes they were successful, sometimes they weren't. But one of the other ways they've used this .1 is to do something that basically takes place between 2 pre-existing issues. And so this is David Michelini, let's see, is it Dave Ross and Bob Layton. So it's basically the classic Iron Man team brought back together to do a classic Iron Man story set in the past. Marvel did that with the Spider-Man books. They gave like a spectacular Spider-Man .1 and a Peter Parker .1. So I really like when they do that. These kind of throwback books. They happen in between issues. I don't know if like the 258 is actually something specific or if they ran.
Isn't that around the time of Drunk Tony?
No, this is actually around the time of I think the Armor Wars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so is Michelini, Ross, and Layton return to the Armor Wars. So with the Iron Man movie coming up and all the hype because of that, plus over this weekend I actually wound up watching Iron Man 1 and 2. Okay. So I've kind of got an Iron Man thing going. Plus, this is a retro book. It's a flashback book, and I loved Michelini and Layton on Iron Man. I mean, I just wish they could have gotten John Romita Jr. because he was the artist on that original run. But he's busy with Captain America and Kick-Ass and all of that stuff right now.
Yeah, the thing about Bob Layton is I honestly haven't seen him do anything since he used to work on Shadow Man for Valiant in the 90s.
Well, I think he's done a couple of these Iron Man throwback.
Has he? Okay.
But yeah, he's still solid stuff. I mean, I don't think anybody drew Iron Man better than Bob Layton. And so he's back doing it again. So between all the Iron Man hype and some nostalgia, this is my top pick.
Right on. Some great stuff this week. We've also got trade paperbacks for Bedlam and Great Pacific, 2 books that I've been talking, well of. So pick those up and trade as well. Mm-hmm. Be sure to check these out at your local brick and mortar store and come on in specifically to Comics and More for free comic book day. We'd love to see you. And that is your Week in Geek.